I feel for people that don't understand what impacts they may be facing. I've read all the horror stories on what it's like living next to a quarry. I've heard about these explosions that go off, and if you put it into perspective of really what it's going to be like and alleviate some concerns that people have on something that they don't understand, it's a little bit more acceptable. They may still not like it, but I can compare that to living next to a set of railroad tracks or an airport. It's a necessity to the county and its growth, and I temporarily, during working hours, have to tolerate something that I would rather not really have to tolerate. Before anybody knew what it was like living next to a rock pit is, my foundation's gonna be ruined, it's gonna ruin my well, we're not gonna like the truck traffic, and that's a given at any location. Currently, we're hearing things that are new to me on health risks of living 2-3 miles away from a quarry. I've never heard anything like that before in this region.
When the request for the overlay expansion came in, the turnout, the public turnout at the Planning Commission was substantial and passionate and emotional and driven by a lot of statements, observations, and eyewitness accounts of the things they felt in the community were detrimental to the quality of life, their safety, air quality, water quality. Quite a robust response to that from the public. When the Planning Commission ruled, listening, even though staff recommended at the time, observed that the application met all the requirements and that we supported the application. The Planning Commission, after hearing all that testimony from the public, recommended denial, and that then moved on to Council. Council had the same type of response. There was a very robust response from the community. They came out very passionately and spent a great deal of time informing Council as to their concerns. Council was very responsive to that, and they felt that, well, there needed to be economic viability as far as mining, surface mining activity and rock production in Clark County. They also needed to be mindful of the impacts, and they conditioned approval on no surface mining activity in that overlay area for a period of 10 years. The citizens, the people there, would have appreciated denial outright. Unfortunately, for them, that wasn't the case. So what we were left with was a framework within which to work to try and resolve this.
Quarries themselves produce 5 jobs in our community for every 1 direct job that's somebody working in the quarry themselves. So whether that be somebody who cuts hair, whether that be somebody who drives a garbage truck, or somebody who provides some other service in our community, that's just the relation to the one worker in the quarry. And that's economic development, right? That is pass along, that is something that's impactful from the construction industry. You know, there's a saying that says, "Rock built America." And that's one of the things that our members passionately believe in, is we have to have quality construction grade rock in order to build the infrastructure, whether it be roads, freeways, bridges, those kinds of things, or whether it's the Rosauer's grocery store in Ridgefield, right? You have to have the right kind of rock to make the building stand up through whatever conditions we might have. It's a safety issue, it's an economic development issue, it's an employment issue, and it's quite honestly a tax base issue as well. Our members, the quarry operators, they're paying taxes into the system. Tonnage taxes go toward roads, rehabilitation of roads, construction of new roads, and those types of things. So there is an impact that's positive that comes out of the quarries as well.
I'd just give you a look at our property and how it borders Kelly Road. And you can get a sense for the number of trucks that come by and the sound. Down the hillside, you can see it as it makes its way up the hill. since there were 2 trucks right behind each other. Over the last couple of years, we've noticed quite an increase in the number of trucks that come up and down Kelly Road, in the traffic and the amount of noise. And sometimes we can get upwards of 5-6 trucks in a row pass by our house going up Kelly Road. It sounds like a freight train passing by. When I leave for work in the morning, when I leave my driveway and turn onto Kelly Road, go down Rock Creek Road to 503 to 502, sometimes I've counted upwards of 14 trucks all coming this way, truck after truck. And for some reason, it just seems the volume of trucks seem to be increasing, and I'm not entirely sure why. Yeah, probably there are 2 tipping points for me. One was the first truck accident on Rock Creek Road that took out a telephone pole. I saw that and thought, wow, this is pretty hazardous. These trucks going down at high speeds on a very narrow road. And in this incident, it took out a telephone pole. And that actually happened twice, has happened twice since I've lived here. The second incident was the quarry truck coming down Kelly Road, losing its brakes and blowing through the Lucia Falls intersection, in which it dumped its load into the bank of the Lewis River. And that's happened twice since I've lived here. And so those really alarmed me. And that's where I really started to get more involved. That is a mound of sand and gravel dumped by the truck that crashed over here. The overgrowth is starting to overgrow. But the truck went right off the edge into this creek, and this creek feeds into the Lewis River, which is 25-30 yards down the hill. The best result would be where the county holds the operator and the quarry accountable for living up to the conditions in the agreement. You know, there are specific rules in the agreement that is now well over 17 years old that the quarry is supposed to follow, and for years have been breaking the rules. And the county has, for lack of resources and other reasons, really have not been holding them accountable. And there are a number of us citizens who have said, time's up. It's time to get this under control. You want to expand the quarry, you want to do more mining, well, you got to start following the rules. They've talked about potentially limiting truck traffic when school buses are in operation, because all on Kelly Road and Lucia Falls Road and Rock Creek Road, buses are making stop after stop after stop. And these trucks at times at high speeds go up and down these roads. So there's this concern for the safety of the school children. Last October, the county spent around $200,000 to repair the road from the quarry exit to Gabriel Road. And those are filling potholes and road damage caused by the excessive use of these 50-ton trucks. $200,000 just for that one phase of improvements or repairs, when the quarry has kicked in a total of $85,000 over the 17-year period. Those repairs are in need of repair again, which will probably cost another $200,000 or more.
The trucking, as far as the trucks running up and down the road, that's a huge, 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 huge issue. I have counted 24 trucks coming down Rock Creek Road at 6:30 in the morning, heading toward the mine. 24 trucks, and they were all boom, boom, boom. I've actually seen 14 in a row too on Rock Creek Road early in the morning. They're not spaced out at all. It amazes me because when they get to the quarry, if there's not enough room for them to stage in the quarry, they have to stage on the road, which makes it a traffic hazard. These roads are not designed to haul the weight that some of these trucks carry. Some of these trucks, these gravel trains, can carry 105.5. That's 105,500 pounds. That's a lot of weight for these roads that are just chip seal roads. We get a lot of trucks coming down Kelly Road. Kelly Road is, if you've been up and down there, it's a steep hill coming down. We have trucks come screaming down there with their Jake brakes on. Jake brake isn't going to stop you. A Jake brake is not going to stop you if you're going that fast. A Jake brake will not stop you. We've had a couple trucks go off the end of Kelly Road, across Lucia Falls, down almost into the river.
We've made efforts to, unfortunately, have to dictate when people can show up to the pit. The pit opens at 7 o'clock up there, but we've told our customers don't show up until 8, so that we can have a little bit of structure on not to exceed that number first thing in the morning when everybody's heading off to work. And when the traffic studies are done, that's what they're there to protect. The problem is, to stop there, the trucks come into the pit and they all have a different location to go to. Now, one of them may be 45 minutes away, another one may be an hour and 15 minutes away. So they all come into the pit, they all leave, and they all come back at different times than they arrived. Well, then you have drive-in trade that you don't have control over, and they come in unannounced, unscheduled, and you can't really expect them to, because they're getting a call just like us that, hey, I need half a dozen trucks tomorrow hauling 5/8 minus to my project. Can you do it? So for us to sit there with somebody at the gate and say, nope, hold up, you can't come in yet, and then to park them out on the county road, I think that's a challenge that we're gonna have to face in the future. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that we have never exceeded 30 loads in an hour. I'd be foolish to do that because I don't sit there and count trucks every day, but I know that based on our ability to get trucks in and out of the pit, it would be rare that that is even possible.
It can be a constant stream of truck traffic. And when the trucks are swinging onto Lucia Falls Road, Rock Creek Road, or onto 503, they're often on the other side of the line, double line. And so it just creates this public safety issue, and it's absolutely unacceptable. Those roads weren't constructed to handle that kind of traffic, and the neighbors should not be subjected to the potential threats of having the traffic on the road like that. It's just a mismatch. Plus, these materials are being moved off-site by wind and water, so it's the transportations of these particulates into streams with threatened and endangered species. For example, East Fork, the Lewis, with salmonids that are afforded protection under the Endangered Species Act. There's the wind-dispersed material coming off a overburdened pile that is supposedly covered or vegetated. Well, go take a look at it. It's scant at best with vegetation. And we're at the top of a mountain with strong westerly winds prevailing. And so this material is being dispersed. And we already know that it's high in silica. It has ironite, it has mordanite, it has a number of these other elements that are known to cause potential health problems in humans and other organisms. And many of those aren't really fleshed out in detail yet, but the scientific community is aware that some of these elements are pathological in their effects on humans, and we need to be damn careful in the way we're treating these materials and not be putting the local communities in danger in terms of public health.
When the first, concern came up, it was an element called mortonite, and there was some scare over this might be present, and I don't know where that suggestion came from. It kind of came out of the blue. In the research that you do on it, it's not even really a carcinogen, or it's an element that would be unlikely to have an effect on human beings because you're not exposed to that. Well, then the question was, well, how do we know what we're exposed to? We don't know if it's there. Well, I'm good for sampling for it, but it's almost like finding a reason to have a health scare. It's one of those things that it's like, well, where does that ever stop? It was based off of a sample done from a neighbor that lives 2 miles away as the crow flies, taken from inside their home, inside a shelf, cupboard, off of a shelf, and somehow they were convinced that that came from the quarry. And if this material is hazardous, that's a big problem. But it kind of opened up this, and then people start repeating it, and now it becomes like It's a fact, this is where it came from. And that's what I don't like to see. I would like to see more of, I guess, get the facts before you point the finger at, you know, our family business as we're doing something evil. Because boy, I don't like living in an environment like that. Now, I'm all for the testing, but let's see the results before we start talking about what I'm doing to the community.
When you're talking about a quarry that's less than a mile away from the river, I mean, that's around. I mean, and so you do have some concern. If they put these great big piles of dirt, which is what the overburden stock is, on top, you know, move it closer to the edge, what's that going to do? I mean, I'm no expert in this. I don't know what it's going to do, but I think it's something that ought to be taken a good hard look at. End result is if you don't do that right, the stuff that runs off ends up in the East Fork. And at the present time, there's no guarantee that anyone can make that that won't happen. Again, I'm no expert. People show me, you know, the LiDAR photographs of the hillside, which strips off, you know, visually all the vegetation and stuff, and they go there, there, there. Those are where the land's moved. And I look at that and I say, well, you know, that, yeah, I can kind of buy into that. And then you put great big piles of additional soil on top of it. It rains 5-6 feet. We don't even have to talk about inches. It rains 5-6 feet a year around here. And then you set off explosions. You make little earthquakes. And you say, you know, how good do we feel about all that stuff staying where it's supposed to stay?
I think this new committee is going to help quite a bit if they take their work seriously and follow through. What we've often found out that there were initial commitments but no real follow through. And it's sort of a mindset that we've got to get out of because the cost now is going to get very high. And yes, we all want to grow and we know we need rock, but there's a smarter way to do it. We have not been doing it very smart. And again, we're not against growth, but there's a smart way to do it, and there's a short-term, short-sighted way. And that, quite frankly, has been the posture in the past. And maybe people didn't realize the trade-offs they were getting us into, but they're here now. We all need to do better.
They have been ignored by the county and have been able to ignore the community for long enough that they need a change in mindset, and that's hopefully coming, but it's coming very slowly. You know, I'm not saying they're bad people or all that. I think there's some bad habits. I think there's some atrocious habits, but they got a lot of help from their friends to get there, and now they're going to need a lot of help to get off of that and be a more straightforward operation.
A lot of the challenges that are currently being laid on the table from the residents are concerns about contamination of water and air. And those are valid concerns in any area for any reason. Council asked if there was a way to get to solutions to address these needs, and they reached out to me to find a way to build a mechanism to give a voice to all those folks and find a meaningful way to resolve all those conflicts as much as possible and look for a meaningful solution that can last forever to solve this problem once and for all. Whether or not they're in violation has to be assessed by somebody that is properly trained to make that assessment. And although the appearance may be that there's a violation occurring, and if you look at just daily trip counts as that measure of compliance, What it takes is dedication of a resource. They have a reporting responsibility. We now have cameras in place to monitor that. We'll determine if a violation is occurring, and if one is occurring, we'll take the appropriate action to do that. Our narrative is to go forward, but go forward openly, honestly, and factfully to solve these problems and resolve these conflicts.
I got it. I got that feeling again. So I got out. I put my windows down. It never really felt that alone to me. Painted black or painted white, call it whatever you think defines, but we only see